So Long Range Shooting Utah, we have the great pleasure of being here with Mr. David Tubb. This guy's a legend. Check out his website. Is it davidtubb.com?
It's davidtubb.com.
Very good. Very easy. So we're going to talk about a lot of things here. So if you guys have been with us before, last year at SHOT Show, we did a video with John Krieger. We did a video with George Gardner, and we talked about all the, I call them taboo questions. That's probably not the best way to describe it, but you know, things like, you know, should I break in my barrel? How often do you clean your barrel? Do you even clean your barrel? How do you clean your barrel? Just all those things that people have questions about that often spur big arguments, especially on the internet. So I'm curious to sit down with some legends, some experts, ask them some of those questions. So maybe let's start out with break-in.
Okay.
Do you break in your new barrels?
Absolutely. You know, if I'm shooting Gary Schneider barrels predominantly, and you know, when I get the barrel and I got a bore scope and I look up and down it, there's not a tool mark in it. It looks like a mirror. And then you cut the chamber. Obviously, you do the head spacing issues, but you cut a chamber in it. Well, you're cutting and you're making little bitty annular tool marks with your chambering reamer. It's pretty easy to polish the ones in the chamber itself out for the most part. But if you look at it with the bore scope, you'll see some little bitty ridges in the lead and the throat, what I call annular tool rings, or little baby speed bumps. And so I like to use, I make a product called Final Finish, which is an aluminum oxide impregnated bullet. You can buy a kit that goes from coarse to a bare bullet. We finish with that. Or you can buy a kit that has just the medium grit, we call it TMS bullet, the throat maintenance system. So for me, I'll shoot half a dozen, 6 or 8 of the aggressive bullets through the barrel, go back in, look at it with the bore scope, 98% of the tool marks are gone. Now I feel that the break-in process is twofold. First, we can remove the annular tool marks, and I do this with 60 or 80 mile an hour ammo, not 120 mile an hour ammo. If you take not a full power charge, it's something that's reduced a bit.
Okay, so like within normal load ranges?
With the, obviously, with the, take the...
So like a 6.5 Creedmoor, instead of 2840, you do 27?
Right, or load the starting charge in the reloading manual. Like the Sierra reloading manual gives you 4 or 5 charges. Start with the bottom.
Okay.
Because all you want to do is get that bullet, have it obturate, but get it out the barrel and let it do its work. So we have shot 6 or 8 Final Finish rounds through it, and now we come in and we shoot the same powder charge, the 60 or 80 mile an hour, but with a bare bullet. So we lapped it in, and now we're going to burnish it in.
Okay.
Because the first thing you do is you don't go out and start shooting. You don't drive your brand new car 120 miles an hour to break it in.
Some people do, but they're not the genius legends like you. So we'll go ahead.
Anyway, and then, you know, why does a gun quit shooting? Well, guess what? It's because you see that dry lake bed effect, the cracking, or the stress cracking, basically, just in front of the chamber, depending on how long you shoot it, it looks like the dry lake bed effect. And so if you will continue, my opinion, to shoot a periodic maintenance of 2 or 3 shots, depending on the caliber, let's say it's a 308 every 500 rounds, then what you're doing is you're helping to keep the high points of the dry lake bed knocked off, and so you will have an extended, accurate barrel life, because what you do, you change the oil in your car, you shot some TMS bullets down your barrel. Right?
Interesting.
So,
okay.
And now for a factory barrel, I would shoot a lot more than 6 or 8. I would shoot the entire kit. And in fact, the joke is if you shoot a kit through a Savage, you need to shoot a second kit, because it's that rough. We looking down at it. You know, but most of the time, and of course, hand loaders buy this product. It comes in a box. We do loaded ammo also. And a couple of other really kind of interesting things is Mark LaRue called me eons ago, it seems like, when he was starting to do his AR project. And he goes, Dave, why don't you load some ammo for me? I go, Mark, people really won't appreciate the ammo that I load to shoot it at 100, 200 yards. I said, why don't I load you some break-in ammunition, some Final Finish, and I said, and you'll lap your lead and your throat in, and guess what? You'll have less returns. And so Mark, I don't know, 3 years ago or something, I went by and saw him, and he had AR15.com, some contest, and had it on a big old board. And he had 15 of the top 20 groups on AR15.com And
Very
it's
good.
totally attributed to that lapping process. And I will tell you, he's not the only group that does it now. There are some others here that use that same process through their rifle barrels because they figured out, guess what? They got less problems.
So as a final finished product, before they ship it out to the customer, they'll run those through
They've shot that through.
So tell me more about the bullet. I mean, what's different about it? Does it have a coating on it, kind of like a DLC, but it has a grit to it? Or?
It's an aluminum oxide impregnated bullet.
Okay.
And typically a hand lap barrel maker uses a non-embedding, and it breaks down. It's a slurry. It's a mix. It's of aluminum oxide. Probably starts with 150, and he strokes it back and forth, and he laps his tool marks out.
Gotcha.
Now you think about it. He's lapping it back and forth, so he feathers the edges of the steel back and forth, and it makes a lot of sense though to shoot them on down. You go in one direction, you know, and of course that's what you're doing with a factory barrel. It's never been hand lapped.
Gotcha.
And I can tell you, like gas ports on. I've seen it so many times where you've got a gas port problem. You don't really know it, but on an AR-15 barrel, it doesn't shoots a group this big. You shoot, 15 or 20 rounds through it because it's not a hand lap barrel, and it went just like that. I've seen that multiple times.
Smooths off those marks.
And really, the joke always used to be, or the standard always used to be, it wasn't really a joke, is anybody who had a 7mm Remington mag that shot 1.5-inch groups at 100 yards was always a winner. They always shot about half that size after they shot the gun.
Huh. Very interesting. So you're a believer in barrel break-in?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And barrel maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're saying you got to use these bullets you guys sell right to do this. What about the guys that go out and they do one shot clean it, one shot clean it, one shot clean it, 5 shots clean it? What's your thoughts?
It may take you a very, very long time to remove the annular tool marks that are in the lead and the throat.
So kind of a waste of time, maybe?
Well, it's a lot longer duration. I've seen barrels that I've gone back and shot a second course of bullets through, which really speeds it up because they didn't shoot the first time. Mm-hmm. So yes, you can shoot it, shoot and clean it, but I'm telling you that wouldn't be my pick.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want some help. I want to speed it up. I want my gun shooting. And so this way, if you shoot 6 or 8, hand lap barrel again, 6 or 8, final finish, bullets through it, and then a dozen bare bullets with the same slower load, and then clean it really well. And then the other thing that I would offer is when you get ready to go shoot it for groups with your full power 120-mile-an-hour charge, load some more 60 or 80-mile-an-hour ammo, because every time you clean your barrel and you're going to go back and start shooting it, shoot the 60 or 80-mile-an-hour ammo through it to re-season it. Okay? And
with your special bullets, or just with the standard bullet?
Your standard bullet. Shoot a couple through it to kind of get it prepped for what you're getting ready to run down its throat.
Gotcha. So like a fouling charge, really?
I like 2 fouling charges.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're doing it at a lesser speed.
Absolutely, because if many of you have looked and you take out, you got a brand new clean barrel, you've got your gun broken in, and you take out and you go shoot your first 2 rounds. Certainly the first one, you see a little brass flow in the ejector plunger on the very first round. Well, guess what? That is a high pressure round. Because why? Because it was meeting resistance when you got down through here. And pressure and velocity equate to fouling. And by shooting a couple of 3 fouling rounds through the brand new clean barrel, you have eliminated the laydown of the copper significantly. Obviously, different barrels foul different ways, depends on how hard you push it. Yeah. But that would be my suggestion. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat to see the different opinions and approaches. I mean, John Krieger was really like, I'm not a big cleaning fan. I see people, more general public people, go out and damage their barrel by cleaning it than they do by not. But this is a totally different approach that I hadn't heard of before, so that's awesome. All right, well, let's talk about cleaning. So how often would you suggest the typical shooter would clean? Let's maybe categorize by like the typical guy that goes out and shoots a little bit, maybe a PRS shooter versus maybe an F-class shooter.
If he's a 30 caliber shooter and he doesn't see any copper wash out here in the end of the muzzle, I think you can go several hundred rounds. Now I would suggest that you have a jag or a brush on it, basically, that you shove in and you clean your chamber out every day. Okay? You just take the carbon out of the ring of the neck, is what I mean.
So you don't get a buildup.
You don't get a buildup. But with a 6, if you see a little bit of fouling in there, 200 or 300 shots, okay to clean, right? You don't see any fouling, Just keep working on the back end here and keep the neck clean. Because the problem is, in my opinion, most people go with too small a neck, too tight a neck. And the reason is because you go out and obviously you can shoot it and it looks great. You shoot 50 rounds, you get a little carbon buildup on the ID of the chamber, and now the bullet, the round goes in and it has less room to open up. And you start seeing a little brass flow in your ejector plunger, and guess what? You got a problem. If you've got a bigger diameter neck that'll accommodate a little bit of dirt, carbon, debris, then you're going to be better off. So consequently, I probably run necks that are larger, like on a 6XC, I prefer a 278 diameter neck, whereas a loaded round measures 271. So people go, that's 3,500 a side. Well, that's about right.
Yeah.
Because anytime, if you go out, this is a very good acid test. If you got a fired round and you take it out and you set it down and you take the bullet you're shooting, and if it does not drop into the case, your neck is too tight.
Huh. Okay? Very interesting.
Now,
okay.
if you're a bench race shooter and you're going to clean your necks all the time, and and it's opening up, and obviously it's going to let the bullet escape when it opens up. But I'm a field shooter. I want something that closes easy, no neck sizing for me, all full length, and I want the bolt open easy, and I want everything to be fluid.
That's interesting too. You mentioned neck sizing versus full length sizing. I know a lot of guys think, well, if I'm going to shoot in the same rifle, then I'm just going to neck size and have it fit it perfect, and that'll be more accurate. Myself, I've learned over the years too that I prefer to have full length size, especially if I'm doing PRS, where I need that thing to chamber every time. I never want to have anything gummed up.
Sure.
So that kind of plays into what you mentioned about the neck having a little bit of space there, and then also.
And additionally, you know, I make reloading dies for the 6.6. Of course, other people do too. Mine are made out of A7 tools, not plated and so on. I like a full-length resize. I like to push the shoulder back about 3 thousandths, and I use an integral neck shoulder bushing. That means I do the neck and the shoulder.
Interesting.
And a typical, let's say a Redding, they only do the neck. So the portion in there never gets resized. But the other significant portion is I am resizing the base 1 thousandth smaller, or 1.5 thou, depending on who's measuring it and how much lube and how big the chamber is. So I want that round with that reloaded, reused case. You close the bolt to lay in the bottom of the chamber. I want clearance everywhere, at the front and the back.
Okay.
Because when you launch it, then it opens up or expands uniformly, as opposed to having it hung on the back. I do not like tight rear, because you're in more going. On top of that, when you shoot it, then you got a hard bolt lift a lot of times, or it's sticky, and that's not something that I want to have to deal with. So,
exactly. Okay.
Not to mention, it won't shoot as good as if it had the clearance.
Okay. Well, the next thing I want to ask you about is barrel life. This is always kind of subjective. It's kind of hard to choose it. Figure out exactly what barrel life is depending on how fast you're running the rifle, the loads you're running, and everything else. But I think we can get kind of a rough parameter. So let's talk about some of the really common rounds, like maybe a 308, maybe a 6mm, like a 243, 6 Creedmoor, a 6.5 Creedmoor. We have to put that in there.
Right.
And then maybe compared to a Magnum. You choose. 300 Win Mag, 7 Mag, whatever.
Well, I would tell you, let's say the 308s, they're typically very forgiving. Obviously, if they've already got a nice hard barrel, they should last a long time. So I have seen the Gary Snyder's barrel he has hanging in his shop that the Marine Corps was shooting their probably Mark 18, 118 through, and they sent him a barrel back that had 13 to 14,000 rounds to it, and it still shot acceptable size groups. Okay, but now that acceptable for them may not be acceptable for you.
Sure.
I'm more of the guy that for a 6XC with say a Gary Snyder barrel, I'm looking to get somewhere around 3,000 rounds out of it. But the reason that is, and I'm doing that, and I have some people who shot them 4,000 rounds, but I think that 3,000, 3,500 is about it. But along those lines, in the 1970s, when I used to shoot a lot of high-power rifle, and we'd shoot, say, 600 yards, I'd start out shooting a 190-grain Sierra bullet at 600 yards. And obviously, when the barrel wears, the group opens up a little bit. And what would I do? I would immediately change to a Lapua, and I don't know how to pronounce the 16-word letter. Yeah, it was a Kadunker head or something, but it was a Cinar. But it had a boat tail, had a rebated boat tail.
Okay.
And the rifle would immediately go back to shooting. Okay?
Interesting.
And that's because when you've got a rebated bow tail shape, then it acts a lot like a flat base bullet. It obturates much quicker or infinitesimally quicker as opposed to letting gas escape around the bullet. And so consequently, the bullet that I sell now, which is 115 grain DTAC, it has a rebated bow tail. And why is that? Because if you start shooting this bullet in the barrel to start with, you'll prevent gas leakage around it. And as the barrel wears, it will obturate and prevent it. So in my opinion, you will increase the life, the accurate life of your barrel, probably 20–25% just by using a rebated bow tail bullet.
Interesting. Okay. So I know your 115 DTACs are amazing, and you can buy them DLC coated, right?
Yes, you can. Bare or with the TBN coated.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about that, well, let's finish the barrel life thing.
Okay.
So if you had to throw out a number just real quick, 308, what range would you say?
5,000 or less.
Okay, so 5,000 rounds.
Yeah, for pristine accuracy. You know, if you were a gunsmith and you could go in and set the barrel back, the length of the threads and rechamber, you make it go a lot longer.
Okay.
But that's about it, yeah.
243, 6 Creedmoor, one of those.
243, it's, 2,500 rounds.
Okay. 6.5 Creedmoor.
3,500 rounds.
So, all right, now Magnum, let's do a 7 Somme. Or a 284. Give me a 7.
284 is hard on a barrel a little bit. It's a little bit overbore, but not too bad. Let's say 3,500 rounds on it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. 300 Win Mag?
2,500 rounds, 2,000 rounds,
Very
probably
good.
25. Yeah.
Oh, he wants to know the 338.
The 338 Lapua, let's say 35, 4,500. Yeah.
And how about our big dog, our 375s?
375 Chi-Tac. I don't think the thing will last 1,500 rounds.
Really?
No.
That surprises me.
Way overboard.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So obviously we had the world record event.
That's right.
Here this last weekend. We wanted to be there, but we got our rifles and things a little too late to be prepared. You were there. Is it your son or your son-in-law?
Son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
I had my daughter shoot and my son-in-law, and we all shot. We're all shooting 3.7. Well, we weren't all. Christy was shooting a 338 Lapua. And son-in-law was shooting 375 Chi-Tacs in our new Tubb gun rifle platform, single shot, of course. Yeah. So, we got there. It was calm in the morning. We started. You could shoot at 1,500 a mile, 2,011, 2,400, and one other target past that.
Okay.
And so we started out, and he hit all. Of course, the requirements are the target is 3 foot square, and it requires 3 hits, cold bore shot included, in order to make a record.
Get the record. So you got to hit it cold bore, and then you got to hit it second shot, third shot to get it.
That's it. Right. So in the morning, there was a couple of people that hit it at 1,500. We started him shooting at a mile, or actually 1768, and we hit it all 3 shots. It was nice conditions. You have to have a 4-hour window before you do a reattempt on another world record.
Okay.
So we sat around, visited, and had a nice time. And then after the afternoon, the wind came up. It was blowing about 8, 9, 10 miles an hour. It was changing direction. And of course, it heated up. You get a lot of mirage running. So
we're in Nevada, so
we're in Nevada. Yeah.
Mirage City.
And it's dust and dirt and so on. So we went the next distance out, 2011. And we hit the target, or he hit the target, all 3 shots.
Wow.
And nobody else that afternoon hit 3 targets of anything, and they didn't get past 1,500. So, some people might say it was a fluke on the first one, but you can't say it's a fluke when you do it twice in a row.
Yep.
And of course, he was using my system, which was a new Tubb gun. And there's a reason that it shoots that well. It's the design in the interior. But I was using a Leopold with my reticle in it, and I was using my DTR ballistics app that comes with the reticle in order to program or solve where he needs to hold.
Yep, get your dope.
Absolutely.
And were you using a Charlie Tarak?
No, don't need it at 2,000.
Okay, that's true. I guess for 3,000.
If I used the Charlie Tarak, it would probably be something past 3,000.
Yeah.
Something in that area. Anyway, with a Chi-Tac cartridge.
Gotcha. Awesome. And what bullet were you shooting? Was it cutting edge, or was it one
We used a
designed?
flat line bullet, the Warner bullet with a nose ring. We have a little new application that we filed on about a year ago, and what it does is it creates a boundary layer drag function. There's a round. If you look at the end of it, you see a little bit of a ring around it. Okay?
So it's the ring
That uniforms the drag, and it also uniforms the ability for it to transition through the transonic into the subsonic region.
That is a big honking bullet. It's
Yeah,
a beautiful,
big old bullet.
beautiful bullet.
That bullet has a G1 drag function that's approaching 1.
Wow.
Very nice. Yeah.
I'm sure people at home are wondering, how much is that bullet going to run me?
I think those bullets from Warner are a couple bucks a piece.
Gotcha.
Thereabouts. Yep.
And they're brass, right?
Yeah,
Turned on the
they're
lathe.
some alloy of some sort. Right.
Gotcha.
I'm not technical or don't. I've read it, but I can't remember it.
But it's not lead. It's not a typical bullet.
Oh, no, it's not a typical bullet.
Spun on a lathe, and
that's right.
Yeah.
No.
Beautiful. Awesome.
No.
All right, so the Tubb gun. So now I saw a video of yours where you actually had like a 338 necked up to a 375. You're not doing that anymore.
No, that was my first attempt.
Okay.
And I liked that cartridge. I had great standard deviations.
Just not the velocity.
Well, no, I shot that gun about 2,900 feet a second. This cartridge in the winning rifle went 3,075. But I'm not a fan of a Chi-Tac case. Okay, I've shot it enough.
Huh.
But in my opinion, it's overbore. I'm using 25 grains more powder to get 175 feet a second more velocity.
It's not as efficient.
I don't like that at all. And I have dead air space, so consequently look for a new cartridge to show up that I'll have the XC on, like the 6XC, but you know, and it's extreme cartridge or an extreme case.
Interesting.
And in a 375 that will actually utilize more modern powders that I like H1000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, when you get up to these big guys, everybody has to use H50, right? I mean, it's the 50 cal.
Well, it's a big old slow.
Yeah.
And if you'll notice, if you looked at the rifles that we had at the match, we all had a magneto speed at the front, and we're chronographing. And what people really need to realize is you've got to have good standard deviations on your velocity, because if you shoot at a target, a good one, a 2-foot tall target at 2,400 yards, and let's say your gun shoots 3,000 feet per second. Well, if you shoot it and then the magneto speed chronographs it at 2985, you're hitting the bottom edge of the target or going under.
Yep.
And if your rifle chronographs at 3015, you might hit the top edge of the target or you're shooting over it. And so you need to keep your velocities or your SDs 5 or under.
Yeah.
And I don't believe these great big cartridges with these slow burning powders are going to be able to accomplish that near so much as shooting H1000 or 4831 shortcut in a short compact version efficiently. Let's put that away. And that's what it all boils down to is we've got these barrels spinning. You know, I shot a 7-twist Schneider polygonal barrel,
which is totally custom.
Totally custom. But it spins and it really tracks very uniformly through the transonic subsonic range. So the fact that you go through that in order to shoot the target at 3,000 yards, okay, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't have the spin, you don't have a nose ring, if you have other issues or you don't follow that parameters, you're probably not going to see that uniformity. You know, it may go away. You know, but
and you're thinking of designing a shorter, fatter case.
Well,
I mean, I'm assuming
it would be somewhere. It's an intermediate case between a 338 Lapua and a Chi-Tac. It would have a 338 head.
Okay. But you're going to shoot a 338 bullet, not a 375.
No, it'd be either way. You could pick this cartridge. Could go either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when can we expect that to come out?
That's probably within 6 months.
Okay.
We'll probably shoot testers in
Is that something that you're going to offer?
Yeah. We'll sell the brass,
the whole bit,
and a resized die and a cedar.
Cool.
Yeah. And guess what? The whole concept or the whole deal will run and be reloadable in a 7/8 by 14 reloading die.
Okay.
And you can shoot it in your Remington if you've got a Lapua bolt head. Okay.
Okay.
Okay? So
you're not having to go upgrade everything to the big boy.
It's going to allow Joe Q Public to do it. Now, he can't go fireform his 338 Lapua and make it work. It's not. It's going to be a much longer. It'll be a little longer case than that, right? And a little bit larger.
Interesting.
Anyway, but the idea is we're going to approach the velocities of the Chi-Tac with a 100% fill density and a modern powder, so we get good SDs.
So you're thinking like H1000.
H1000 is a hard powder to beat.
Yeah.
But there are others. Other people have other powders out, like the 79, 77 that Enduron has. There are other good powders that are modern powders. And we may actually change our primer. We may be offering a different primer in the back, maybe a European primer that's a little bit hotter than a 215 Federal.
So same size, just different concoction.
It'll be actually a slightly different size.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it won't be as big as a 50.
All right. Well, we're looking to build one and get into this game. And right now we're shooting a 338 Edge, which you know it'll get the job done, but it's not a 375. So you know, that was one of my questions I was going to come ask you. Is if someone wants to get into this extreme game, what caliber do they pick? And I think I know your answer, but
I'd do the one we're going to do. You know, the thing is, it's like one fellow told me the other day. He goes, "Well, I got to wait for my gunsmith to finish the gun." Well, guess what? If you buy a Tubb gun, all you need to do, which is an integrated assembly, we don't sell a barrel, but we'll get you, Krieger will do a barrel, Barlin will do a barrel, we can get you a Schneider barrel in it, but you don't have to do any gunsmithing here, right? Obviously, your gunsmith can put the barrel on, you put it together, you can have 4 or 5 barrels. That was the concept, is you could have 308s or 284s or this new XC case, you shoot them all, you know, and the engineering that's involved with the stable bolt technology, which holds everything square, is advantageous to accuracy. And you can honestly, I hate to bang beat the old drum, but you can honestly say that this is the most accurate long-range rifle platform in existence. And why? Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
Did it twice. Nobody else even passed 1,500 yards with their 50-pound whatever they got, you know, all kinds of big calibers, little calibers, all kinds of engineering, and it was shot with a 22-pound rifle or 22.5-pound gun with one of these bipods on it. Didn't even have a slide.
34-inch barrel, 36-inch barrel.
It was a 35-inch barrel, 34, 35, right there.
Gotcha. With a nice big breaker you running on it.
We have a new break out that's called a 5-star break, and what it does is it does not blow the debris back to you. It blows it sideways. It doesn't stir up the dirt very much. It blows out the top, and you could actually determine how many ports you want. But for most people are staying with 5. But it's tunable, like the other brakes that I've done over the years. So it's got a trailing locking nut. So when you get your rifle and you get your load worked up, then I would suggest you turn your brake in a turn or out of turn, lock it down, shoot a group, lock it down, turn another turn out and shoot a group. You're going to find probably maybe even a sweeter spot than what you have, right? Just play with
do the 22s, right? Where they have the tuner on the
end. That's right, a little bit. It's making just a tad bit of difference. It's not night and day.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference. But if you watch the video, obviously there's videos on all of this. The website, you'll see that this is an asymmetrical muzzle brake. And that means that when you shoot it, you watch, we have some flour that we squirt through at high pressure gas. And if this was level, obviously you've got coming out here, coming out here, and coming out here, but this one is coming out at a different angle. And the concept is that helps you stay on the target better. So this brake is designed to not only minimize your blowing stuff on you or your next door buddy, but also stay on target.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Well, while we're sitting here, why don't you tell us about the Tubb gun itself and kind of the design there? I noticed that you've got a nut there that you can unscrew. I assume that takes off the forend?
Absolutely. So, first off, it's got a lot of the accoutrements that the old Tubb gun had, the old Tubb 2000 had. This has we 3D print the cheek piece. It'll go up and down, little clicks, knobs. It's a little plastic cheek, and of course this goes in and out, up and down. This particular rifle is a folder, so folds around and latches out of the way. The heart of the rifle is the stable bolt technology, and that means that we're using concave. I'll let you hold that a minute, Bryce. Concave and convex lugs or surfaces, basically, to keep this all together. And so once you have this system, then the only thing you'll need are barrel extensions. And that's the barrel extension that fits in it. And it kind of looks like, a right hand looks like Mickey Mouse, and the left hand looks like Minnie Mouse. Okay, you show that? And so you've got concave and convex surfaces mated up that want to center themselves, right? And additionally, if you look at the cocking piece on the rifle, the cocking piece is square as opposed to a Remington. They're all angled. So when you close the bolt on a Remington, it gets loaded to the top, the back end does. Okay. This one, when you close it, the square sear holds it in the center. But the heart of it is this spring-loaded bushing at the back. When you close this bolt, the spring-loaded bushing takes over and it holds everything in a centered fashion all the way till the firing pin hits the primer. I mean, you know, obviously it's still held in the same position, the gun goes off, okay?
Gotcha.
So,
very cool.
And the bolt heads, there's 2 pins. You knock 2 pins out, you go from a standard to a Magnum to a Lapua. If you forget to put the pins back in, you shoot the rifle, it's completely safe. You'll open it up and the rest will come off and that will stay in and you have to knock the case out.
Gotcha.
So it's adjustable, tunable to those 3 cartridge configurations.
Awesome.
Additionally, every time you do a rifle, you need a trigger and you do a mag box. So about 3 years ago, we did a 2-stage trigger that is
so the T7T?
T7T, as good as any. You can put dirt in it, you can put powder in it, you can freeze it. You pull on a little bit, it clears itself and goes on. It's adjustable from ounces to pounds, and you can tune it like a fitted suit. You can have a little more stroke on the front, a little sharper break on the back, your own desire. Right?
Yeah.
And I'll show you how it comes out in a minute. The second thing you need is a magazine box. Well, I went through on the Tubb 2000, the stamp mag boxes, and you may have all gone, you get buy 10 to get 3, all right, that work. Well, guess what? These all are machines. So if you get one today, you get one in 2 years, it's going to be the same. One cool feature that I designed in was I have lost my magazine box before, okay, inadvertently bumping it. This one, you punch the button, notice the mag box did not fall. So what you do is you come in here and you pull it to the rear and down and it comes out. Okay? You can even do it to this degree if we put it in. I punched it, I grab it front and down. So you can do it right or left. Right, this comes in right and left hand, so the mag release button is going to stay on this side. So
gotcha.
If you're lefty, you may have to develop a slightly different technique. Something other interesting about the mag box is the fact that it takes 2 pins, 2 roll pins, you drive it out, the box will slide half in 2. It's got a shallow end and a heavy end. And so it's got 2 Delron spacers in the front and the back. One in the front, one in the back. And you tune this mag box to the cartridge you're shooting, the overall length of the cartridge. Okay?
By using different inserts.
By using different inserts or no inserts.
Okay.
And this will hold 13 308s, 10 284s, 7 short mags, and 6 338 Norma mags. That's kind of the range. And it runs with all of them.
All the same mag.
All the same magazine.
And do you order these already configured for, or can you order them already configured, or does it come with all the pieces?
No, it comes with all the pieces. That way we figured anybody can drive out 2 pins, slide it apart. They have a little, they have to work to get it back together, but they get it together, and then once you do it 2 or 3 times, it's like...
Gotcha.
It's like they've been doing it forever, basically.
So this, is this...
It's aluminum. It's
aluminum,
anodized. Yeah, it's anodized. The 660 series aluminum is anodized. So then another feature of this rifle is the fact that I told you you could forget to put the pins in this and it would work. Right? Well, there's one single screw that holds the trigger assembly or the firing pin, firing mechanism. Say, there's the trigger that comes out, the trigger and the trigger housing.
Wow.
So
you put a little bit of thought into this, I gather.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Absolutely. So anyway, so you pull that out and adjust it. If you forgot to put a screw in, put it all back together, it will work just fine. And as we move down, then put this back in.
You don't need this though, right? You already got that.
I'm good for that. Yep. So as we move down, get to the front, this is an integral 20 MOA Picatinny rail. That means as I have learned, that there are no compromises with this because it's solid in this 770 series aluminum piece.
It's all one piece.
Yes, and when you combine that barrel extension that we had out, right back out here, when you combine this barrel extension with this 70 series aluminum receiver, you're approaching 2 times the stiffness of a normal Remington 700. All right. And from there, this goes to a round 4-in tube. These are Picatinny rail sections that don't chew your hand up.
Yeah, they don't stick out. Interesting.
They don't stick out. And you can really make this a suitcase gun per se if you want to. Look at a 2,000-yard suitcase gun. I'll let you hold that. Here's the left-hand version. Fold it up. There it is. All by itself.
Throw that in your briefcase.
You throw that in your briefcase. All right.
And it's AR compatible. I mean, any AR.
That's right. And to change the barrel, it comes with a couple of tools to release the barrel retaining nut. And it's 9 turns. I'll just do as fast as I can. That's retained it, and you notice these angles. This centers everything else. So just imagine how much force you have with an external thread with the centering device. That holds the barrel in there rigidly. In fact, the zeros repeat. Okay? If you notice, there's an indexing pin on the back of the barrel extension. So when you put it in, it indexes back, and it indexes back so good that the iron sight zeros repeat.
Wow.
And of course, once again, this is the barrel extension that the barrel maker would put on. He'd cut it, thread it.
So this would normally be the barrel.
This would normally be the barrel.
It's just cut short for demonstration.
So you'd put the barrel in, and you'd rotate it until you heard it snap, and then you screw it back together.
You got yourself a switch barrel.
Yep, you got all kinds of switch barrels. Idea is you're never without your receiver or your integrated assembly, all right? Because all you do is send your barrel extension off to get a new barrel. And the gunsmiths like that because there's no paperwork involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we go a little bit further then down the road, we go to the bipod and a couple of the additions on the bipod. For people, do it like this, I guess. For most people, or most bipods, this is the widest it ever is. And with this particular bipod, it's the narrowest. We said this is 9 inches tall, then this is 8 inches tall. Then that's 7 inches tall. Then that's 6 inches tall. And look how much movement I have. A whole lot. And additionally, we have, of course, this is a QD setup. You borrow that bipod over there. It's sitting there. So you can take this and you get rid of this phone call. Honey, I got to call you back. No, I got to go. So you run this kind of like a QD. So you can take down here and just push it in, and it will hang on. Usually, what I'm looking for. Let's see.
Might not be open enough.
There
we go.
That's how it works. You learn how to run that, all right? Forward and back. You're right, it's not open. Anyway, chilled it. But the other advantage is this comes with a little ring here that you can loosen, slide it back and forth so you can position the bipod. Another little cool deal is you can actually offset the bipod to the left of the barrel if you're a shooter, obviously a right-hand shooter. And what that does is it puts a lot of the weight on the right side, so when you shoot it, this rifle actually stays on the target better because you got more weight. It's kind of like the offset fore-end on a bench rest gun where one side stuck out further than the other.
Huh.
But all in all, this is a system that's got 17 years of design improvements on the Tubb 2000. The Tubb 2000 was an excellent gun. It holds the perfect score at long range. At Camp Perry, it's probably be retired that way, hopefully. And of course, this rifle now holds the world ELR record currently for a while. So, and it did it twice in a row. No flukes. Quality product, and it's hard to beat stuff from people who have experience. Okay, and I'll have to brag on it. My partner in this thing is Mike Irwin. He's got his are great in mind with it, you know. And look, the only thing that's going to change on this is look for a 4-in tube that's maybe a little different. That's made by Ingenuity Gun Works. They're going to shoot in the PRS stuff.
Yep.
Oh, and this rifle fits it all. You want to shoot ELR with a big old 375, or you want to shoot your 6XC, this is a rifle for you.
So you're so with the 375, you're single feeding in this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, any prudent, extreme long-range shooter is always going to single feed his rounds.
Yeah.
Because why? Because you saw the little pointy tip on that, and you want to bang that around, and
yeah, not going to happen.
Mag boxes don't work so good. You know, in that particular for that particular situation.
So this will also function with like a long action, like a 300 Win Mag, for instance.
Yes,
you
it
can throw
will.
that in there.
Yes, it would.
And that one, can you feed from a mag? I'm assuming so, because the mag.
Yes, the mag. The 300 Win Mag would feed from the mag. You have to seek the bullet back just a little bit, but it'll feed right away.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Well, obviously you put a lot of thought and a lot of engineering went into this. I mean, every single piece of it is obviously very complex and had a lot of thought put into it. So that's phenomenal.
Thank you,
congratulations for the world record.
Yeah, well, look, you got to tell Nate.
One of many records.
Nate did it, but it didn't hurt to have a good coach, you know. So, and the equipment, I mean, it makes it possible.
Yep.
That's it. You know, for me, a chassis gun is a joke because chassis don't work as good as this system does. It's been proven. Yeah. You know, there's too many moving parts. This is an ergonomically better setup to fit the shooter too. You don't have a big old gap here for waiting for your bolt to work in and out of. You know, you can actually put your face where you want. If you watch an AR-15 shooter, he typically creeps up all the way till his nose may be touching the charging handle. Same thing here. Bolt works out underneath your face. You know, so
interesting.
Instead of having your head way back here, because you're waiting for your bolt to work there. So.
Do you guys have anybody shooting any of these, or have a team for the PRS series or for the NRL?
Well, I think that Chase Stroud's going to be shooting one of these in that, and Paul Poindexter is going to be shooting one.
Very cool.
So there'll be a few starting out. We're starting our deliveries now, in right and left hand, and you'll just keep your eye open. You'll see a few show up.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Bryce,
absolutely
you,
amazing interview.
Yeah,
lots of great things to think about. Excited to go out and hopefully share the line with you and be able to shoot next to you in some of these matches.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Kelly McMillan.
All right, SHOT Show 2016. We're going to give it a shot right now.